Hello viewers, and welcome to Endless Legend. This is a 4X game. If you're not familiar with what that means, perhaps you're familiar with Civilization, which is the most famous game in the genre. The reason they're called 4X games is because what you do in them primarily can be boiled down to explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. We spread out our forces, we explore this brave new fantasy world, we settle and colonize all over the place, we gather up the resources from the land, and then we smelt those resources into weapons with which to murder our enemies. It's sort of like colonialism as a game genre, but a lot more fun than colonialism. Anyway, this game has a sort of a fantasy theme to it, but if you look into the fantasy enough, you realize that it's actually science fiction. It's a case of that famous quote about any sufficiently advanced technology appearing to be magic. So let's get started. We are playing as the Wild Walkers, these elf-looking dudes. Our deal is we get extra industry from forests, so we like to build on forests. Because of our bonds with the planet and the beasts and whatnot, we know the location of opposing armies in and around our empire. We can eventually get a bonus to defense in forests, so extra combat ability in forests, and all of our unique units have this forest rage ability that gives us bonus attack in forests. So basically we are way into forests all the time, forests forever. Like I said, elfy. We're not elves, or elfy. Alright, so this is our starting army. It is composed of 4 units. We have a hero serving as a commander of the army. Our hero here, Tlatomosi Pakwa II. That's a mouthful and honestly kind of a dumb name. We're going to call him Moss. So we got Moss commanding a 3 units in his command, a settler who will found our city, our first city, and 2 Dakari Rangers, which are basically archers. They have very low defense and very low HP, but long range, they do good damage, and they have boosted attack when they are in forests. We'll talk a little bit about what that means when we enter combat. So, if you are familiar with Endless Space or Dungeon of the Endless, or maybe just watched my Dungeon of the Endless Let's Play, you'll probably be familiar with the resources we're seeing here on the map. Now I've turned on tile yields. We have your food, represented by some green wheat, your industry, represented by red gears, science, represented by this blue sort of atom symbol, and dust, represented in gold by what looks like a coin, but turns out to be a cloud of semi-psychic nanomachines. Yeah, for real. That's actually what's happening in this game universe. So, like most 4Xs, it's important to consider the terrain. You can see different tiles give different amounts of resources. Tiles with rivers on them are broadly just better than tiles without rivers. There's an extra point of resource on a river tile. You can see the tiles with the forests on them are worth 4 resources for us, or 5 if they have the river, whereas tiles with no forest and no river are only worth 3. Strongly encouraged to build in a forest, and honestly, industry is just really strong as far as the game's resources go. So I want to build in this forest. I think I'll probably build right here to take advantage of this anomaly. You can see this tile has just a huge yield, and that's because it has an anomaly. In this case, a tree of life. Many tiles in Endless Legend will have anomalies that give bonuses of various types. This one has given us a bunch of extra food and a little bit of extra industry, a little bit extra science, and it gives 10 approval, which is sort of analogous to happiness from Civ, if you're familiar with that. However, before we go over there, we're going to search these ruins that are right next to us. Tooled stones and forged metal artifacts speak of lost nations. While they are not rare on Auriga, in this place they are plentiful and better preserved. Certainly worth a closer look. You know what? I agree. So, we search the ruins, and we find stuff. When performed by a hero, this action provides 10 XP. That's good for us. We like XP. Alright, we found 30 dust. Now, I think we found our settling spot already. Right in the middle of this forest, near the Tree of Life, near the river. But I'm going to split off my initial units. We're going to spread our initial army out into a bunch of smaller armies, just to have a look around and make sure that we're not doing something foolish, missing a better spot. This looks pretty solid. Yep, okay. We're going to settle near the Tree of Life. Hey, you. So, let's put down roots. Wait, that sounded like I was making a tree joke. I am not making a tree joke. I do not support all this elf nonsense. Alright, so we've founded the city of Mandara, so named because the region that we've settled it in is named Mandara. This game is all about regions. You can see on the map here the outline of our region, now in orange. You can see a neighboring region with a white outline. Over here, there's a neighboring region with a green outline, meaning that the green player has settled in it. There can only be one city in each region, so when you're building in a region, you need to consider carefully where you want it to be, both from a strategic standpoint and also from a defensibility standpoint. I think we're fine with where we settled. So the city gathers the resources on the district tile here, and also on all of the tiles surrounding. So we've got pretty good, and you can see this tile's yields have been improved somewhat by the district being built on it, but the district has actually reduced the food output of the tile. So we're going to, in our city we have one citizen, here you can see. In this game, your citizens don't work the land, they work in your city center, producing more resources. So we could apply our one citizen to any resource we want. If we wanted to produce extra science, or extra industry, or extra food. You can see here, this is the production per worker. So our worker in food makes 4 food, a worker in science makes 4 science, a worker in influence only makes 2 influence, because influence is a special resource that works differently than the others, and we'll talk about it when we actually start spending it. For now, we're going to have him on food. I really do want to get our population up quickly. We also we will have buildings. We don't have buildings now, but we will have buildings. And to make the buildings, we will construct them in our construction crew down here. Every turn, our city produces 21 industry, and then that industry is paid into whatever it is that we're currently creating. So you can see this has a cost of 30 industry. It'll take 2 turns to build, and there will be a little bit of industry left over that will get applied to the next thing we build afterward. Which is a decision we will make later. We also have to do some research. This is what our science is for. You can see we are making 3 science per turn, and it costs 13.9 science to research this thing we've selected, so it's going to take forever. We'll see what we can do about that. Honestly, we may even reassign our citizen to science. We really need to get off the ground here. I'm just going to queue up another research that I know we'll want in a few minutes. But the language square is important because it allows us to parley with minor factions and gain their favor, and that's something that we probably will want to do because we like winning. So we'll search this ruin, we'll find 40 dust. We're going to fan our units out a little bit, just explore as much as possible. I want to found a second city in the near future. And in order to do that... Oh, sorry, I'm trying to press end turn and instead I'm opening the chat window. In order to do that, we first have to find a spot that's worth settling in. Alright, this game also has quests. This is our faction quest. Every faction has a different faction quest. This is the one for the Wild Walkers. Your faction quest has a lot of powerful rewards, so it's good to pursue. But sometimes it can ask you to do difficult things. So let's read this flavor text here. It has been a difficult winter. Not merely the weather and the hunger, but all the rivalries within the Wild Walkers have descended upon the head that wears the crown. Your head. During the long, cold months when both space and activity are lacking, tempers flare and arguments begin. As usual, it is the shamanists of the Sokwa clan who fan the flames. We should not have left the forests. Our gods will desert us. We are made weak without the sharing. They should be named the Tata clan. The talk too much. Oh, sick fantasy made-up language burn. But you are the Onanchio, the highest judge and warlord, and for now your word remains law. The challenge is to occupy these grumblers and those who would listen to them. They need a purpose and a distraction. Around you are many sites where previous civilizations rose and fell. To avoid that same fate, it would perhaps be good to investigate these places, and give the grumblers something else to whine about. So we're going to distract our people by finding ancient sites, searching for knowledge. I don't know how that's going to distract them. It seems like it wouldn't be very effective. But anyway, explore the map, search for ruins. One of the reasons I picked the Wild Walkers is that they have a very simple sort of gimmick. If you've played Civ before, you're probably used to the different factions in the game all being pretty similar, very little actual variation. That's not the case in Endless Legend. Every faction in Endless Legend plays way differently, totally different mechanics. Several of them don't even use some of the resources. It's a little crazy. So the Wild Walkers they have the simplest gimmick, and they're the most like what you might think of as sort of a basic experience, sort of a civilization-style experience. And the other reason I chose them is that their faction quest is straightforward and just asks you to do things you were going to do anyway. I'll tell you right now, I am not amazing at this game. I'm okay. I can beat the AI about half the time on the second highest difficulty, so by no means an expert. And we're not playing on that high of a difficulty now, but I also haven't played the game extensively with AI since the huge patch that they released recently that is supposed to have revamped all the AI routines, so it might be a lot harder now, actually. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. I hope I don't do anything embarrassing on camera. Alright, so explore the map, search for ruins. Get quest reward, 15 glass steel. Glass steel is a strategic resource. You use it to make armor and weapons. There are very few military units in this game. We're going to walk over here, search the ruins, keep looking around for a place to settle. Hey, 5 glass steel, alright. There are very few military units in this game. Every faction has access to its 3 unique units. And then, there aren't, like, hordes of generic units that you find throughout the game like there are in Civ, where it's like everything has 20,000 upgrades, and everybody gets cavalry, and everybody gets archers, and everybody gets lancers. The majority of your forces are going to be made up of units that only your faction can field. And you won't be discovering new ones all the time. What you'll be doing is upgrading your old ones with weapons and armor made of new strategic resources. So, it's extremely important to explore because you have to find regions that have those strategic resources in them. It's like really important. I cannot overstate how important that is. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about our options here. We can build another settler. It would take one of the citizens from our town and turn him into a unit, and then we could go off and settle another location. I'm a big fan of an early settle or two, but I do think we want to wait a turn. When we start creating our settler, all of the food production in town will not go into the town stockpile, but it will instead go into the settler. So, if we start our settler right now, our next citizen won't be born next turn. So I'm going to give it a turn and then start him after that. So we're going to put 1 turn worth of industry into something. The seed storage we can complete in 1 turn because we have... it costs 38. We have 24, but we also have the overflow from the last thing we were building. Remember, it didn't take up all of the industry we produced this turn. So we'll finish our seed storage and then we'll make our settler. And in the meantime, we will continue to fulfill our quest by searching ruins, which we're going to do anyway because searching ruins is great because everybody loves free resources. Hey, 5 titanium. So in every new tier of strategic resources, there are 2 different resources. The first tier is titanium and glass steel. titanium weapons and armor are more effective at giving you attack and defense, while glass steel weapons and armor give a little bit less attack and defense, but they also tend to give a lot of initiative, which makes your units go first in combat. And that can be extremely valuable for reasons that I will describe a little bit when we actually start getting into combat. These are some neat tiles. These trees are considered to be forests, so you can see we're getting our +1 industry bonus. Unfortunately, we can't actually walk in the tile that has the ruins. It is obstructed, so we'll just go around the mountain to this side. Also, it looks like this must be 2 different regions, right? Maybe not. Maybe our neighbor's region just kind of wraps all the way around ours like that. Well, we're not going to worry about him over much just yet. I want to get eyes on... Here we go. This is what I was about to say. I want to get eyes on the minor faction in our area. So, every region has minor faction villages. In this case, we've got some ladies named the Sisters of Mercy. Sort of battle nuns. Very common fantasy trope. And these villages kind of function like barbarian villages in Civ, where they occasionally produce units that are not affiliated with the player that just run around and rampage and burn stuff and kill people and are basically they're assholes. But in this game, once you can parlay with them, you can receive quests from them, and then performing the regional quest for a faction will pacify them. A pacified minor faction village adds its population to the major faction city in the region, which makes it valuable. And also, you can assimilate minor factions into your empire for various bonuses, and also that allows you to build their military units, so that's cool. Like I said, each faction has only 3 military units available to it, so sometimes there are significant holes in your tactical capability that you can fill by getting just the right minor factions on your side. Let's end our turn here. Alright, Mondara has finished both its 3rd citizen and its food storage. The food building that we just constructed is going to allow us to grow our population very, very quickly. You can see here we're getting almost 18 food from the 2 buildings that we've constructed in our city already. We're going to go ahead and pop out a settler, though. Like I said, food production stops when the settler is being built, so we're going to move all of our citizens out of food and into production. We'll get him a turn earlier by doing this. We're going to have our archers here just do a little bit more exploring. It looks like we found the coast. That's a tile, though. Alright. So now we've seen all of the tiles in our region. It's important to get that established because you want to know what resources you have available. In our region, it looks like we have no luxury resources, but we do have a titanium deposit. So once we research the right thing, we'll be able to build on this and then start mining titanium. We'll be able to produce a large quantity of titanium armor and weapons for our troops. The minor faction in this area is the Kazanji. The Kazanji generate energy not from food, but from fire. They live in cold, dry, relatively barren areas. Their form is defined by a very dense and resistant skeleton around which energies of fire and dust coalesce. So they're like sweet fire demons. In fact, their unit is named the Demon. And we can see here, if we were to assimilate them into our empire, we would get plus 5% influence per pacified Kazanji village. So you get all of the assimilation effects work like this, where you get some amount of the effect for each one of their villages you have. So it can actually be really beneficial to assimilate a faction that is in more than one of your empire's regions. I'm not going to lie, this looks really good, like founding right here. We would get the effect of these exotics, and this massive tree, an abomination of a tree, no less. So look at all the output there. That's a ton of food and industry. Every tile around is a forest, so we're getting our bonuses from that. And there's a bonus resource output on this tile because it has a luxury resource on it, and also dye is a pretty good luxury. So I'm thinking this tile right here is our second city. That looks really good. We can see the red player up here. Who still has moves left? You still have moves left. The minor faction in this region is the Ursus. You can see these huge ogre-looking dudes. These are giant and powerful ogres, simple-minded but humble and withdrawn. Their size and shape shows that they are well suited to heavy labor in digging pits. That's a rough way to describe someone on your first meeting. Hey guy, you look like you'd be real good at digging some pits for me. How do you feel about that? Alright, our language square is completed. Next research, building that gives production. It's possible that I prize production too highly. I do think it's really great to have a lot of production, and it's really a bummer to not have enough. Now that our language square is completed, we're going to parley with all these villages that we found. Parley. The tribe leader needs your help. A pack of hostile monsters has been raiding and threatening their villages, and they lack the military power to stop them. If you wipe out that threat, the tribe will be more than happy. So, we'll get 15 glass steel and the allegiance of these Sisters of Mercy if we go to this ruin, find monsters in it, and then kill those monsters. Unfortunately, I am not a big fan of the early game military capability of the Wild Walkers. Oh, you can see a unit from the red faction over here. So he's the Ardent Mages. He's kept his initial army all together. Here's the thing that's super different in this game than in Civ, or in fact in any other 4X I've ever played. It's really important to talk about. You can attack another player's units outside of that player's territory without declaring war on them. Everybody starts in Cold War status with all the other players. And while you're at Cold War status, you can attack other people's units in neutral territory and in your own territory without any kind of without needing to declare war, without really suffering a huge diplomatic penalty. The person whose units you attacked won't like it, but the other players won't think that you were being a dick or anything. So we have to be very careful about how we move around the other players, because obviously it's to their advantage for us to have a weakened military. Let's parley with these guys. Everybody in this village seems to be giving orders and claiming some fancy title. Finally, one of them comes forward and states that if you can bring them enough dust, they will put aside their differences and follow your banners. While it seems a bit too chaotic to be a reliable tip, you have nothing else to go on, and the village would be a useful ally. So they want 50 dust. But you'll notice that the reward for this is influence. It doesn't say pacification. So what that means is that when we give them the 50 dust, they're going to give us another quest that will actually pacify them. Hold on. I'll get back to you. Let's also parley with this village. Let's get all the information first. The tribe leader wants proof that you are a reliable ally. They have brothers imprisoned in a nearby region, but only vague clues on their whereabouts. Find them, free them, and you will cement the tribe's trust. So these guys want us to go into Kalal, locate a village of Hernas, which is another minor faction, and destroy it. And in exchange, they'll give us some Titan Bones. Titan Bones are a luxury resource, and we'll talk about exactly how those work a little bit later, when we actually have one to use. Well, I'm not super happy with these quests. 2 of the quests we got require us to do violence with our military units that I don't think are very good. We'll have to see. Okay. Parlaying with those guys did give our hero enough experience to level up, though. So, all military units have this equipment screen. And this is how you upgrade people. You give them better gear, and, yeah, obviously it increases their stats. But heroes also have a skill tree, where you can you earn skill points when you level up, and then you put them into the skill tree, and you know how this goes. If you're watching somebody play video games on YouTube, probably you're familiar with what a skill tree is. Every hero's skill tree is made up of 3 portions. The common portion here is shared by all heroes, and it has just basic stuff in it, like you're more likely to find stuff in ruins. At max rank, I believe this completely eliminates the chance for ruins to be empty when you search them. Bonus XP for units under your command, and you can see it says Hero Skill Army there. Some skills are only effective when the hero is commanding an army. Other skills are only effective when the hero is serving as the governor of a city. We haven't talked about that yet. But, like, for example, if we gave him this skill and then put him in a city, all of the tiles that city's working that have forests on them would have an extra industry. It is important to have heroes serving as governors of your city. And with most factions, I would immediately assign my initial hero to be governor. But I don't do that when I play Wild Walkers because I don't think that Moss here is a very good governor. You can see over here his skills. He has lots of stuff that affects combat. He's good at shooting people. He runs fast. He's got that forest rage. He takes less damage from ranged attacks. He gives any army he leads all these bonuses, plus 5% attack, plus 5% defense. That stuff's really cool. The only skill he has that affects cities is this. Plus 1 industry for each citizen in the city who's working industry, and plus 1 industry output, plus 1% industry output total for each level that he has. So that's pretty weak. I think he's much better served as a military commander, and ranged heroes are my favorite type to use as military commanders. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. I was talking about how the skill trees are built. Common, every hero has it. Faction is shared by all heroes of faction. All Wild Walker heroes would have this, but all the Dragon Clan heroes would have a different one, and all the Ardent Mages would have a different one still. And then this one is decided by your hero's class. So our hero is a ranged class. The other classes are infantry, support, flying, and cavalry, I think. We're going to go ahead and push up the class tree because I know that it has some bonuses that I want for his military command, plus damage, plus attack. Plus 1 range on ranged units is really powerful. So we're going to work up this way. And the first skill here is Agile Mover, plus 1 movement, because you know what's really fast is squirrels. Squirrels with really weirdly long ears. Okay. And then we're going to use his extra movement to keep searching ruins, because I love ruins. Free stuff? Free stuff. Dirty dust. Alright, you see this? This is the sharing. When there's an army that is not aligned with us in any region we own or any region adjacent to any region we own, we'll see this on the tile to let us know that something is nearby. Ah, the Hernas. This is Kalal, isn't it? Okay, we can't actually see the name of the region, but that's definitely a C. So this is the region where we have to save. We have to save those trapped units if we want to make the Kazanji happy. You don't have to do a village's quest to pacify it. You can also pacify villages by bribing them, or by dominating them militarily. If you bribe the village, it only pacifies that village. If you complete a village's quest, it pacifies all of the villages in that region. There can be up to 3 villages in each region, so bribing can get expensive sometimes. Ancient texts and scientific studies say that some locations are interconnected. By successively activating triggers in these places, you can uncover increasingly important treasures. But only a hero can do it, and once you start, you will launch a countdown, after which the chain effect vanishes forever. Now, it says once you start, you will launch a countdown, which makes it sound like the timer doesn't start until we go to the first place, but no, the timer has already started. So, 15 turns to loot, I believe it's 5 different ruins scattered around the nearby regions. We'll get 15 glass steel for searching this first one. Oh, also we completed our thing. That was our 4th ruin. You marvel at the works of the ancients, and you fear them. Your mind turns to thoughts of defense. Time and experience bring knowledge, though new knowledge is not always welcome. Your dream of a great new tower to the stars, a symbol to Gaia, has been put off by strikes and riots at the building site. Achaka Dahi, who leads the Sokwa, claims your dreams are foolish sacrilege. He and many others continue to insist on the old ways. There are those, however, who have seen what you have seen, and question the old ways as you do. You must explore, go farther, learn more. You convince them to look beyond the forest, to seek new ways. It is time to explore farther and find new allies, or new slaves, for the cities you see in your visions. Our empire must grow, and we're going to need help. The wild walkers alone are not enough. Make contact with a neighboring minor faction and assimilate them into your empire peacefully or forcibly. So, we have to pacify and assimilate a minor faction village. And if we do so, we will be rewarded with this technology, which gives us some influence whenever we build stuff, basically. Okay, sure. That's fine. We love assimilating. Alright, this right here is the first place we have to search for that Lust for Loot quest. So that's handy because our hero's already right next to it. Let's keep looking around. So, for strategic reasons, Kostrian is an important region. If we take it, we'll probably annoy both green and red, because given that it's adjacent to their borders, they probably also want it. But if we don't take it, we're allowing either green or red to hem us in quite a bit. It's important to play nice with your neighbors, but it's more important to make sure you have the resources necessary to field an army. Because at some point, your neighbors are probably going to remember that this is a game where only one player can win, and in order for them to win, you must lose. It's important for us to remember that too. Alright, our settler has been completed. Now we have an interesting choice to make. You can see we're going to tear through the next couple of citizens. We're going to make our next couple of citizens very quickly because of the seed storage that we built. So we have a new question. Do we want to build more small improvements to our city, or do we want to try to build this legendary building? Only one of these can exist. It's a wonder, basically. If you've played Civ 5, this is a wonder. It will give us big bonuses to our dust and science production, and it will give us some approval to help us reach that level of Empire approval that we need for the bonuses to be active. It costs 5 titanium and 5 glass steel, which can be difficult to get your hands on early because you have to research the extraction tech and then build the extractors. But we got lucky and we've gotten the resources necessary from quests. That's some pretty good randomness in our favor. It would take 8 turns. It is unlikely that any other civilization is going to be able to build this as fast as we are, because no other civilization has the huge industry bonus that we get. This will slow down the production of our... this will slow down the building of our city a little bit. You can see everything else that we can build is pretty cheap and fast, but I think we're going to go for it. I want it. So, one thing to note about this is not a building. Buildings go inside of your city. You can see we've got our Founders Memorial and our seed storage and our palace and our city hall, which were created when we made the city. These are improvements. These are buildings in the Civ 5 sense. This is actually another district onto our city. So by building it, we'll take over all of the tiles adjacent to it. And I'll talk more about what it means to build more districts, because it is a thing we'll be doing more of. But for right now, yeah, we're just going to put this down here. It'll claim 2 more river tiles for us. There's a lot of extra food and industry. And in fact, there's a series of researches that you can do, a series of technologies that allow you to build buildings that improve the output of river tiles. We're definitely going to be doing some of those. The first one available to us will let us dredge dust out of the rivers, and that's really important because we're okay on dust supply because we keep finding it in ruins, but we've been operating at a deficit for the entire game. At some point, the flow of dust from ruins is going to stop. We will have found all of the easy dust, and by that point, we're going to need to be generating a surplus. Also, our settler has been produced, so we're going to create a new army containing just that settler, since we have access to no other units. We're going to move up to this tile, and we're going to settle on it. It's dangerous to move a settler out by himself, but it's such an early turn that I'm really not that concerned. We are going to search this ruin with an army led by a hero and acquire 15 glass steel. The next location will give us 15 wine, our first luxury resource, and I'll show you what it means when we get it. That's pretty far away, so we'd better start walking. This will allow our hero to provide a little bit of cover for our settler. It's not actually going to matter, though. Alright. Did we talk to these guys? The Hernas? We did not, because we're going to have to destroy them at some point, probably. But we can get their quest. Let's see. Words are cheap. This is the essence of the message from the leaders of the village you have encountered. While they would be glad to join you, they mistrust your large and growing power. If you wish to win their allegiance, you must show them you are more than a bloodthirsty conqueror. So, we have to prove to them that we are not a belligerent warmonger. In the next Empire plan, don't put any influence in military and set your economy and population ministry to level 1. Okay. You don't know what any of those words mean if you've not played this game before, but I'll show you when it comes time. The short version is, we may or may not be able to do this, depending on our influence levels at the time. I know we had a quest that gives influence. So we could drop 50 dust on those guys to get 10 influence. That's probably worth doing now that I know we're going to be founding soon. Alright. We're going to go give these guys 50 of our rapidly dwindling dust. What do you want to do? I'm going to explore down in this region a little bit. So let's run over here. We do need to get these guys pacified sooner rather than later. It is actually really important to get the minor factions in your settled regions pacified, so they're not just crapping out aggressive units. Uh-oh. This is bad. It seems that our immediate neighbor is a necrophage. The necrophages are a terrifying neighbor. The deal is, they have a penalty that reduces the food they gather from tiles. All tiles produce one less food than they otherwise would. But, to make up for it, necrophages can, as their name implies, eat the corpses of their enemies to gain food surpluses. So, a necrophage player can only grow at the same rate as other players if he is constantly engaging in battle and constantly killing. And since we're adjacent to him, when he runs out of minor factions to eat, he's going to turn his eyes to us. So, we have a couple of options for dealing with this guy. It's also worth noting that they have a diplomatic penalty that prevents them from ever being friendlier than Cold War with any other player. We'll never be able to make peace or have an alliance. There's a couple of ways we can deal with this guy. First of all, we need to have an army that is sufficient to make him think twice about attacking us. And secondly, we need to get all up in his economy. We need to be good trade partners and make it so that he has difficulty fighting us without injuring his economy. We need trade routes, and we need to get him dependent. Oh, hold on a second. I was about to try to make a beeline here, but in fact, there's a cliff face. Your hero can't just jump down a cliff face. You have to... Ooh, is this a settler? Is he going to try to steal our region? Oh dear. Well, unfortunately for him, our settler has just enough movement to make our city exactly where we wanted it. You can fuck off. Okay. Sorry about the language. Anyway, we can't just jump down the cliff face. We do have to go around, so we'll have to travel down this way. It's important to note elevation. It has a lot of implications for movement and combat. Yeah. These guys are all about pain. They love pain and scars and all that nonsense. I mean, this is a kind of a fantasy cliche, right? They're mages, and their power comes from feeling bad about stuff. Cool, I guess. Okay. Keeping him assigned to food makes our next citizen pop up in one turn. Assigning him to anything else would make it an extra turn. You do get a bit of a snowball effect from population, much like in Civilization. It's not as strong here, and unlike in Civilization, population is not the only thing that matters. Look at this. Look at this dust. We're still going to give these guys 50 of our dust because I want the influence. Alright. So you please the Ursus, who told you what you actually need to do. Bring 5 glass steel to the other Ursus village located in the same region. This could be an onerous cost for some. Fortunately, we found 1 billion glass steel, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. We'll run over to the other village and give them some glass steel. Unfortunately, we don't actually know where the other village is. We'll have to find it. Probably it's down here somewhere. Actually, that's the border. We can see the border through the fog a little bit. Well, we'll find it. It's got to be somewhere. Alright, we are going to make our next research the building that produces dust. And in fact, we may have to assign some citizens over to dust in the meantime. You know, I'm actually going to have this guy run over here. We're going to try to find that Ursus village as soon as we can. In the next couple of turns, all of the minor faction villages that are still hostile will produce their first military unit. It would be really cool if we could pacify these Ursus before that happened. Yep, we have researched the mill foundry. That's great. I'm a big fan of the mill foundry. Alright, Moss is going to keep moving toward the next step of that free stuff quest, because I love free stuff quests. Here's our neighbor's city, his capital, Smezroth. That's a great fantasy name, huh? Who wouldn't want to live in Smezroth? Alright, looks like the village must in fact be over here on the border. There it is. So, we'll give them 5 glass steel and... Alright. Pacification before they spawn any units, so we never have to deal with them getting aggressive on us. That's fantastic. We have to stop the hemorrhaging here. It's going to get a lot better in a couple of turns when the Empire plan occurs. And I will explain to you what I mean by that when we hit that turn. And that's probably going to be the end of the video. Empire plan time. Alright, so we completed our seed storage in our one city. Let's build a mill foundry, because you can never have enough production. Just trust me. Never enough production. Let's go get us some free loot. What is it? Wine? Yeah, 15 wine. Sweet. Alright. Where's the next location? That's pretty far away. It is on the border of another player's territory. Alright, we're going to use a hero warp to get that. Which I will explain in a moment when I actually do it. Next turn. You, on the other hand, the Dorgeshi. Banished after a series of feuds, these roving clan families left the life of their caravans and cities, exchanging the luxuries of merchants for the hardships of warriors. The clan's secrets of beast control were used to master the great Birdemic lizards. That says... Listen, it's spelled funny, but that says Birdemic right there. Turning the Dorgeshi into a fearsome heavy cavalry. You know, cavalry is something that our faction naturally lacks. Those guys could be useful if we can turn them to our cause. We're going to search these ruins. We've discovered a cool crossbow for our heroes. That is a lot of stats, but unfortunately it costs titanium to equip it, and we don't have any spare titanium lying around right now. We'll have to consider it. We're going to parley with these guys and try to get them on our side as quickly as possible. Alright, so turn 10. Let's talk about empire plans and research, influence. So every X number of turns, it's different on every game speed. We're playing this game on quick. Every 10 turns on quick, you'll be asked to perform an empire plan. The empire plan allows you to exchange your influence, that is your purple stars, for other resources. But At arrow 1, it's pretty simple. You can drag the thing out in a direction, and see if we do this, we'll get +3 dust for each citizen in any of our cities that's working on dust, and that bonus will last until the next Empire Plan time. If we went this way instead, we could get +20% science output from all of our cities. And you can see we can actually do multiples or even all of our options if we can afford it. We do not have enough. But we do have enough thanks to fulfilling that Ursus Village's quest. We do have enough to buy one thing. If we had not fulfilled that quest, we would be at 19 influence right now, and we wouldn't be able to buy any bonus. This will help us tremendously because it will eliminate our dust deficiency for the moment. And also, we had a city-state, I'm using Civ terminology. We had a minor faction who wanted us to set our thing to this, so that will be handy. Alright, it's time to get this resource. Ooh, Ceratan. The Ceratan are best described as arachnoid centaurs. They are a subterranean people, tending to white hair and pale skin. They prefer to feed on warm-blooded prey, but can survive on cold-blooded beasts or insectoids. They're Driders. Their unit is actually named Drider. They're obviously Driders. Oh, and we have encountered the purple player. He is prepared to speak with us and has promised that they will not cut the throats of even one of our envoys. Isn't that nice of him? These guys, the Forgotten, don't have science. They don't believe in it. In order to get technology, they either have to buy the technology with dust, or they have to steal it from other players with spies. So he's probably going to want to spy on us, provided we're his closest neighbor. That's something that we'll have to calculate. We'll have to put into our decision making. Alright, so we have to search this with a hero. Heroes can have their assignments changed. Right now, our hero is assigned to a small army of just himself. But we could assign him to a different army, or to governorship of a city or something. And doing so will teleport him to that location immediately. So if we decide to assign him to be the general of this army, poof, here he is. You can only do that every so often. The default cooldown is 5 turns. But some heroes, in fact, Moss, I believe, has that skill. Some heroes have abilities that will reduce their assignment cooldown. So we'll use him to search this. We'll get some gold. The next location will give us 15 titanium and 15 glass steel. This is a really important bonus, and I'll tell you why when it comes up. And it's in our home region. Okay. How many turns do we have? 10 turns? Okay. It will be trivial for us to get this army back there in 10 turns. Also, nothing else in the location. Searching the location for the quest doesn't actually exhaust it, so you can search it again to find what's normally there. We're going to parley with these guys. They would like 10 gold. Do we have 10 gold? Did we get 10 gold from a quest? We did. Alright, let's talk about what luxuries do. This video is getting pretty long. We'll talk about what luxuries do while in the turn, and then we'll wrap it up here. Luxury resources don't do anything by themselves. You just gather them. But you can expend them to get bonuses. So, for example, if we were to expend our 15 gold here, we would get a small approval bonus for 5 turns, and our building upkeep would be 50% less for 5 turns. This is actually pretty valuable for us because we're having some real dust problems. Our dust value up here, by the way, has not updated for our Empire Plan yet. Our Empire Plan isn't actually in effect until the beginning of next turn. But when it goes into effect, we'll be fine. If we were to activate our wine, it would give us a plus 30% approval bonus. And actually, I think we're going to do that now. Approval affects the resource output of your cities. If we have more approval... There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. So you can see plus 15% dust and plus 15% science output. Empire-wide approval is just an average of all your city's approval ratings. And Empire-wide approval affects your science and dust outputs. Approval above 50% gives bonuses. Approval below 50% gives penalties. In addition, each city has a city-level approval value. And the city-level approval values affect the food and industry output of the individual cities. So by bumping up our approval value, we've actually made our cities build faster. We've improved our dust output enough that we no longer have a deficit even without the Empire Plan bonus. And stuff like that. We are not going to use this gold. We are going to give this gold to the Saratan. Alright, they are now pacified. This probably helps Pink more than it helps us. But we never know what's going to happen. And Moss has reached a new level off that parley. We're going to take this. We could take another point of plus movement, and that certainly is good. But I want to get up to this juicy, like, attack, range, damage bonus stuff. Alright, one of our units hasn't moved yet. Yeah, that's right, this one. Okay, this region is pink. The pink player settled it. So we don't actually care about scouting it too much anymore. I wish I had noticed that before I moved. We're just going to back out. Now that we can't settle it, I don't care so much anymore. But you can see we're already getting very hedged in. If we hadn't claimed Costrian, if Red had gotten Costrian, we would have been limited to just building out this way. I'm a little nervous about our position, actually. We're really squished here. Also, green player running around in our regions. That's annoying. Okay, well, we do have to start a new research before we can end the turn. The game won't let us pass without research. What do I want? This will let me start extracting the dye that's in that in Costrian. This will let us start building extractors on glass, steel, and titanium deposits that we have available to us. So there's titanium in Mandara and titanium in Costrian. You can see here we got the dye marked on our map as well. By the way, one thing I really love about Endless Legend is the different degrees of detail that you can get at the different zoom levels. This is a really well-built game. I like basically everything about it. Also, look at this like hand-painted miniatures aesthetic. It's really cool. Oh, it's such a pretty game. Alright, so I'm going to call it here. We'll make our decisions on research and stuff next time. Hopefully, this is interesting to you guys. If you haven't ever seen this game before and it looks cool, it's not that expensive and it goes down to $10 every time there's a Steam sale, so not too hard to pick up. And come back next time when we probably will start to get involved in some combat. We're going to see some hostile minor faction units, so you get to see the combat in the game, and we will continue to see what the world of Auriga has in store for us. We'll see you then.